I'm building a cabinet where I'm trying to mimic a cabinet that has this door on it. And one of the challenges that I have is the corners of the door. They're mitered corners. It's kind of hard to tell. You can really see it up in the molding that that's a mitered joint, and you can just faintly see the glue line. And after I have all the parts and pieces milled up, one of the challenges I face in my shop is how to glue and clamp something like this together. So I did a little research. Basically two ideas came up. One was a band clamp and one was a perimeter clamp. And I wasn't too comfortable with the band clamp idea. The band might get glued to the corner, and as you tightened it, I wasn't sure how the friction of the band on the corners might act up. So I came up with a different idea. Trying to get a quick center for these pieces. They're not all cut to the same size. So I have my marking gauge more or less on the center, and now I can visually figure out where the center of these are. I drilled these holes a 64th of an inch larger than what was recommended. This plywood's relatively soft. I didn't want to run the risk of it splitting. I also glued lengths of toothpicks up and down through the plywood right in this area to help strengthen the laminations. And finally I have them clamped in a vise to keep the fibers compressed. It seems to be threading in pretty easily. When I drilled these holes, I also walked up the drill bit sizes. I tried to just drill this first one and the drill bit wandered on me. So I went back to drilling a smaller pilot hole and a medium-sized pilot hole and a relatively large pilot hole, every time being sure to make sure the drill bit was more or less centered. And it took a little longer, but they all came out okay. And there's the second one. They are. You can see the little bits of the toothpicks reinforcing the joint. Kind of takes a little dexterity to clamp these in. All this hardware came from the local box store. Does not seem to be the highest quality. No surprise. This particular insert, I can barely get the... I can't even get that one in. Looks like I got the wrong size for that one. Well, I have a metric and an imperial set of hex keys. This is the metric. The first three were driven in with the imperial. I just assumed since the thread was imperial that the hex key required would also be imperial, but didn't seem to work out that way. Yeah, that's really loose in there. So much for quality control. Well, this homemade clamp got the job done. It was certainly inexpensive. The wood was obviously scrap pieces. The two pieces of threaded rod were $4 a piece. The threaded inserts, a few dollars for a set of 4. The wing nuts, a couple dollars for a set of 4, and the washers are even cheaper. A lot of people recommend a band clamp, but I thought that was going to be kind of difficult given the size of this door that I'm gluing. And I kind of came up with this idea on my own, and since I made this one, I actually saw somebody put out a YouTube video with almost the exact same thing. So I guess great minds think alike. Well, it took quite a kabuki dance. After I had it all glued up and looking good, I checked it for square and it had racked on me. So I had to take it out of the clamps and squeeze two of the corners together to get it back to square. And by that time the glue had tacked up pretty well, and I was able to get these 4 corner clamps back on. And here it is, glued up and dry, ready to declamp it. Well, and here is the clamp disassembled. It certainly doesn't take up a lot of space. Well, this is certainly not an elaborate, complicated, nor expensive build, but it was something I spent a fair amount of time on because I had the problem that needed to be solved, and I needed a good enough solution to get me by and going. And if I had screwed it up, then I would have been in a world of hurt. So maybe some of you out there are in a similar situation, and maybe you're doing similar research, and maybe this video has actually helped you. And if it has, I think that's great. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and as always, keep your eyes out for the next one.